Excuse me for ringing this bell in such a commanding way. But for those of you who love the theater, I think you deserve to know why I have summoned you in such a dramatic way. This was the bell that my mother used at the LBJ Ranch when folks who had come to visit from further and yon, and it was her hope that they might hear the dinner bell and come closer. So for those of you who are out in the further and yon, I want to give you fair warning that this will be relatively brief. But I thought that for me to begin, any comments that I was going to make and welcome you to our home, Mother ought to be a part of it. The Park Service obviously desperately wanted this bell. And assuming you are paying your taxes, all of you own the LBJ Ranch as much as I do. But I said I have dibs on the bell and I'm going to use it here. And my sister lovingly said, somehow a bell in Austin from the ranch may make more sense than me trying to do it in Virginia. And so I'm very grateful to have it, but I'm more grateful to have all of you in our home. I'd like to introduce my husband, Ian, if he's anywhere nearby. Ian, I hope you will raise your hand. He is the tall man out in the hallway with the British accent. He's 6'4" with a mustache and a British accent, so he doesn't get away with a whole lot around here anonymously. But he is the love of my life, and he has made it possible for me to do things like tonight, so I certainly want to remind him how grateful I am. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Ian and I are thrilled to welcome you, the Paramount's most generous donors, to our home. The Paramount is where the springtime of our lives has taken place. It's where we have all gone to celebrate childhood holidays, to impress our sweethearts, to take our children for their first live theater, to go and see the old familiar movies that make us feel young again. It's been the place of first for each of us, and it is a first place. When I was asked to host this evening, my first reaction was, I just retired days ago and no longer have a staff or an office. How on earth can I do this? Then I thought, the Paramount has been paramount in my parents', children's, and my own life. It's always been there for us. How can I not be there for the Paramount? As I have told some of you before, the answer to my quandary was hanging on my breakfast room wall. It is a framed photograph of the Paramount's marquee on July the 15th, 2007. And in front of the marquee is a hearse bearing my mother's coffin, traveling down Congress Avenue one final time. The marquee said, "We shall miss
our leading lady. It was all I needed to decide. A flood of memories pulled on my heartstrings, for in the twilight of Mama's life, when she could no longer see to read, or walk, or talk, or have the energy to partake in the vibrant life of this vibrant town she loved so dearly, I would take her to the Paramount to see a show. The Paramount was small enough for Mother not to feel overwhelmed, and as I quietly entered, pushing her in a wheelchair, word would pass through the theater that its beloved patroness was back. The audience would spontaneously rise and clap, and as we made our way to our seats, Mama would graciously wave her hand to the audience to sit down. But they wouldn't. They would just clap and clap and clap until someone from the stage would recognize her publicly, and the applause would crescendo again until the announcement came that it was time for the show. And as I sat down beside my mother, I would see a tear flowing down her cheek. The Paramount, the place of her magical memories, had not forgotten her. And for a moment, Mother felt like the crystal carriage of her Cinderella life had not turned into a pumpkin. When Ian and I go outside to see the stars, we see the Paramount's marquee. And today, we see the Blade. When we rise for breakfast, we are greeted by this photo of Mother's last journey for the Paramount. From the cradle to the grave, the Paramount has blessed the lives of generations of Johnsons, as I'm sure it has blessed yours. And tonight, Jim took me up to the 15th floor, as I hope many of those who are working for the Paramount tonight will take you, so you can look out, as I have, over the Paramount and feel proud of your support for it, and just maybe, just a little, join me in the glee that I have made, and Ian too has been recognized on that marquee. The wonderful, vibrant supermoon that we witnessed tonight, and that you witnessed in a way that few have, is mighty special vista on the horizon. But for Ian and for me, this moment of seeing our names on the marquee has meant more to us than words can ever say. In some small way, we feel like maybe we've arrived in Mother's shadow and feel very grateful for the honor. We are so honored that the Paramount has asked us to help honor those who make the Paramount the vibrant source of laughter, love, and learning that it is. And we are deeply honored to host astronaut Scott Kelly and hear firsthand of his historic contribution to our country as our longest resident of the world outside our world. My father chaired the NASC, or to those of you who may not be old enough to remember, the National Aeronautics and Space Council, under President Kennedy. And he wrote the memorandum that recommended to the president that America could put a man on the moon in the decade. Thus, a commitment to America's space program is part of my gene pool. To learn from Scott Kelly about his year in space makes my spirit soar. I have known and loved his sister-in-law, Gabby, and his brother for many years, and am deeply proud of their family's sacrifice and service for our country. And I hope you will join us shortly in our dining room for an evening celebrating the Paramount. And if you have the chance before the evening is over, please feel free to go upstairs outside on the deck next to the pool and see the Paramount's fabulous blade. Or, as I've seen tonight, you can go right outside on this terrace as well. In the meantime, I will turn the podium over to Jim Ritz, the Paramount's beloved director, who will introduce us all to Scott Kelly, who has the greatest show in space to share with us.
I, like you all, have, in much closer proximity, just been standing in awe at your passion, your commitment, how erudite you are, and I had a realization. How many of you all here know the name Phil Bankston? That's what I thought. Phil Bankston was a very accomplished National Football League coach. He just unfortunately followed Vince Lombardi as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. That would be Vince Lombardi that I think won 5 NFL championships, the first 2 Super Bowls. They've named the trophy after Vince Lombardi.
And even I know his name.
There you go. I love it. And as I'm standing here, I realized Vince Lombardi was the very best at his craft. Tonight, I'm Phil Bainston. Because I'm following the Vince Lombardi of Florida. Thank you so much. You all know me. This is 7 years we've done this together, and this is normally when I talk about a lot of other things. There's nothing I can say that is going to equal what the Paramount means to this city, what it means to this state. And so I'm just going to say a few thank yous, and let's get on to the other side of the Vince Lombardi story here tonight, if we can.
While you're doing that,
yes.
I just want to say I've gone around the room this evening asking many of you what the Paramount means to you. And from school teachers to people involved at the highest level in this corporate life, there's been a resounding theme. It's family. And I think, Jim, to have that achievement of making each of us feel important in a world where there's so much that's happening that sometimes we don't feel that way. That is an accomplishment that the Paramount has been able to achieve for all of us, whatever walk of life we come from. And so we thank you.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. To Ian and to Luci, we can't possibly thank you for your generosity of spirit, what you've done for the Paramount Theater, what you've done for this city, your family, what you've done for the United States is remarkable, and we're very fortunate to have you all as our neighbors downtown. Let me just thank a couple of folks who make an evening like this possible. And I want to know the Jabor family and the folks at Twin Liquor are so good to every cultural institution in this town. Joe Cook's Catering, who's taken great care, and you're going to love their food here. I've fortunately been here. But most importantly, all of you. And we're grateful for your friendship. We're grateful for your financial support. You make it possible for us to have the widest possible programming that you can have. We started as a vaudeville house in 1915, and we still hold to that. Where else can you one night see President Barack Obama and the next night RuPaul's Drag Race? That is the Paramount, and that is who we are, and we serve all audiences in the Central Texas area. You allow us to improve the lives of over 20,000 school children every year through our education and outreach programs. You attend our shows where each evening what I hope is you are renewed and you are reminded how extraordinary human beings can be. Because that's what we do every night at the Paramount Theater, is we remind you it's not about what we're lacking, or it's not about what we need to do better, and it's not about excluding anybody. It's celebrating how extraordinary we are as human beings. You make that possible, and we are unbelievably grateful, because we couldn't do this in a 102-year-old theater without you. So thank you to Ian and Luci. Thank you to you all. Thank you for attending shows. And now it's my honor to introduce a true American hero, an incredibly accomplished Navy pilot, a record-breaking astronaut, and we're all looking forward to seeing him tomorrow night. But thank you so much for being willing to share a few thoughts tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Scott Kelly.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And first, I'd like to thank Luci and her husband, Ian, for hosting this evening tonight. And Jim for inviting me out to the Paramount. I'm here with my fiance, Amiko, and hopefully we'll get to at least say hi to all of you this evening. We travel around the country a lot and give a lot of talks, and often they are in community theaters and events that are held for the public. But I've never been to the Paramount, but I suspect, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right, that this will be the most incredible theater and organization that is in this country. There's a lot of great ones, but I have never heard anyone describe their local theater like you did tonight, Luci. And obviously this place means a lot to you and the community, so I really look forward to getting to talk to you there. And I really appreciated your thoughts on diversity, for everyone. I think, like you said, I think that's really lacking today in our country. The inclusion of all the people, not only the people that were born here, but the people that weren't. So, that was very meaningful to me for you to say that, and it's an honor to be able to come and be a part of your organization. I became an astronaut in 1996. My brother, Mark, is also, we were in the same class by maybe some clerical error. I'm not sure who was the clerical error. So I've spent a lot of time in Texas. I've lived in Texas more than I lived in New Jersey. I was from New Jersey, and when I was 18, I basically left New Jersey, and I like to go back and visit, but I am now a Texan. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but in the early days of the space program, what was called the Manned Spacecraft Center at the time was going to be possibly in other places. And my understanding, the options were in Florida, the Kennedy Space Center. New York City was an option, Hawaii, and Colorado. And I'm sure there were others that were considered.
But not today.
Not today. And I can tell you that at least my colleagues that I work with are very thankful to President Johnson that we can all the astronauts can now call themselves Texans, because...
Aren't you glad you left New Jersey and came to New York?
Although, New Jersey is called the Garden State for a reason. It doesn't only look like I-95. You know, the folks that, you know, I had the privilege of working with at NASA for 20 years are very proud that we are Texans, and that is, you know, directly a result of your father, President Johnson. So, you know, I appreciate him. Obviously, you know, I did not know him, but, you know, we owe him a gratitude because we can call Texas our home. So thank you again, Luci, for having us, and look forward to talking to you, meeting you tonight, and perhaps, you know, maybe tomorrow night, but definitely talking to you during the presentation. So thank you.
Well, Scott, I cannot put words in my father's mouth in his death, as I dared not in his lifetime. But I have absolutely no doubt about this. You and your mission would have been his pride and joy, and a sense of fulfillment that I told you about earlier. One of my favorite childhood cartoons was the picture of President Eisenhower, who, by the way, my father worked with very compatibly and respectfully. But it was a picture of President Eisenhower standing military erect and saying, "I'm not going to be like Lyndon Johnson. I'm going to keep my feet on the ground while he dreams about outer space." Well, his dreams of outer space have come true in your reality for all of us. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
And I thank you for his dreams. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shall we ask people to,
Yes, we need
repair?
to eat, drink, and be merry. Celebrating, of course, the Paramount first, but also the fact that if you don't, we're going to have a truckload of food.
Thank you. Thank you.